Hey, what is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds. I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. On tonight's show, we are going to discuss the week that was 17 in the NFL season. We're going to talk about some terrible, terrible reffing calls that decided a game, man, an entire game. We're going to talk about, I got a little Russell Wilson talk. See what you think about maybe some possible teams because he is not going to be a Denver Bronco next year. We'll look at the playoff landscape as it stands. But first, Mr. Kevin, Happy New Year, and how are you doing?
Right back at you, Slick. Oh, I'm doing all right. Very cold here. I noticed your hay at the beginning of the show is excessively long. Tell us how many alcoholic beverages you've had today. Adult
I
beverages. My apologies.
I don't talk about that.
You don't
That's
kiss and
not a
tell.
discussion. I don't kiss and
Well, we
tell,
can
Kevin.
just we can
Could be
just use the
zero.
hay and make our own judgments from that.
Could be zero, Kevin.
Uh,
I will say I'm enjoying watching the this is Monday night, so the Michigan Wolverines just took down the Alabama Crimson Tide 27-20 in the first round of the college football playoffs. I'm gonna be watching this game. Both of us will be the next one actually, the Washington Texas game during the show. So this should be fun.
I just watched third and fourth down. They were the two and only two college football days I've watched this entire year.
Yeah, I haven't seen many, but I'll watch this, I guess. How do you feel about New Year's resolutions? Where do you stand on that?
I think they're stupid and useless.
Why?
If it's something you really want to change and make an effort at, why do you need to wait till the calendar changes over? That's stupid. That just doesn't make any sense.
Dude, if you're not going to do something on April 12th, why are you going to do it
Yeah, you're
on
not.
January 1st?
Yeah, it's just
Because
dumb.
you're not. You might make it a week. You might make it a month. Hey, you might do a really good job. You might make it 3 months. It's not going to be a lifestyle change. Now, there's one caveat to this. Some people need a starting line. They need someone else to draw them a starting line. But that's such a small fraction of people. And for those people, they woke up on January 1st today and they went and they ran a mile because they want to do a mile every day. Good for you. That's what you needed. But that percentage of the population is so small. I'm with you 1,000%. I did. I'm not a runner by any means. During COVID, I had nothing else to do. I'm a goal oriented person. I needed a goal. I said, you know what? I'm going to run 1,000 miles in a year. Why not? You know what the date was when I started? July 8th. I woke up July 8th and I thought, you know what? July 8th next year, I'm going to have 1,000 miles under my belt. Dates shouldn't matter, my friend.
You're very
New Year's
passionate about
resolutions.
this. So I don't know if you
Yeah,
had a
I
traumatic
know.
New Year's resolution in your past or what's happened, but boy, you're talking about this like you talk about the Eagles defense. So something, there must be some PTSD related type instance. We don't need to get into it here, but Lordy boy, I just sat back. I was like, I'm going to let him talk because I don't really know where to chime in on this.
I appreciate it, Kevin. Sometimes you just got to let me go, man. Sometimes you just got to
There's
let me
nothing
go.
wrong with a rant now and again. You do it to me. Of course, you set me up for my rants. You set yourself up for your own rants.
Oh man, I'm just softball tossing everybody over here. All right. Well, speaking of a rant, I got a phone call from my dad yesterday, and he went on a rant about
Oh,
the
boy.
Lions game. My father,
Yeah. What trash.
not a huge football fan, never has been, but I played football, so he was, a fan of the game because I played it. He has not watched a game, a single NFL game, since Colin Kaepernick took a knee, whenever that was. He
Yeah.
decided NFL's not for me. He called me yesterday, absolutely ticked about the Lions Cowboys game and how that ended. And by now, all of us know there was confusion with one of the offensive linemen for the Lions went on a 2-point conversion to win the game. They wanted to be tackle eligible, so they checked in with the referee, told him, hey, I'm tackle eligible, which you have to do. The ref then goes tell the defense, hey, number 68 is tackle eligible, blah, blah, blah. They run the play. They throw it to 68. It's a converted 2-point conversion. Lions are up. And there's a penalty because the ref says, nope, number 70 reported to me. And Kevin, just wasn't the case. 68 reported. The referee didn't look at the jersey number. That is 99% proven that that's what happened by all parties involved. And it's such a shame for such an important game to end that way.
So I'm 100% on you. That referee, that whole crew suck. They've had more trouble than every other crew all season long. They've made now at least 3 calls that have actually determined the outcome of a game. That said, Detroit has pretty much come out now and admitted there was a little chicanery here. They had 70, who's reported for numerous times this year. You've read this, yep, right? Walk towards the ref so that they would notice him because they would have seen in film that he's been eligible a number of times this year. So then you have 68 and another dude walk up sort of around the same time. And they actually reported 70 didn't. So there was some chicanery to try to confuse Dallas. But what happened is they confused the idiot, moronic referee. Like Florio's on there today trying to put the freaking blame on Detroit. No. They told them before the game, as they do, trick plays, they always talk, not to the head referee, but to some of the other judges, umpires, what's coming. This is what we're going to do. They told them about this play. It is not their job then they did what they had to do. They just made it look a little weird.
Right.
These referees get paid enormous amounts of money, and they have this responsibility 16 times a week to make these very important calls. And this idiot just can't seem to do it week after week. It's his job to make sure he gets it right. And if he's not sure, he needs to go back and ask them. And then there's a little bit on Detroit too. When they announced that 70 is eligible, did nobody ever there hear it? You've got 150 people on the sideline. Nobody heard that they announced the wrong number. So there's a little bit on Detroit here too, but 99% of this is on those moronic referees who suck, are getting downgraded. And thank God Goodell's not going to let them referee a single down of the playoffs, because this is huge.
Oh,
we're talking the Eagles still having a better chance of winning the division. We're talking about the Lions having the number 2 seed sewn up.
Correct. And a possibility at the number 1 seed if San Francisco
they would have.
lose.
You're right. San Francisco would have had something to play for this week. So then all of a sudden CMC might have to play. So many things were just completely screwed. You play this whole season, and then these idiots butcher the whole thing. And the NFL's coming out as though, well, Detroit shouldn't have tried to be tricky and none of this would have happened. Like, they literally are defending the rest for sucking.
So here's most of the radio, TV pundits, all the people that talk. I pay very little attention to them, except for occasionally I'll listen to the folks that played the game, that have been on the field, because they have insights that we don't have. I've been following this game for a long time, Kevin, and I learned something on a video I watched today of Rex Ryan. And he was saying that as a coach, and I did not know this, before the game, you have a sit-down meeting with the refs.
Yeah,
which is the Lions
right, to tell them.
Dan Campbell says they literally draw the play up for the ref and say, when we do this play, blah, blah, blah.
But one caveat there, the head referee is not at the meeting. I read it today on 2 different places. The head referee is not there. 2 or 3 of the others are there because the head referee has a million other things he's in charge of on game day, including being out on the field when everything else is happening. That the head referee is not at the meeting discussing trick plays.
First off, he should be. Second off,
that's just an NFL rule. It's not he just chose not to. He's
even still. Why after that play, how about another ref go up and be like, look, man, are you 100% sure it was 70? Because
100% on board with you there, yes. And even if regardless of the trick play meeting or not, he should get it right.
Agreed.
The guy walks up to you with a 68. He goes like this all over it to draw attention to the number. And you still announce 70, who already walked away from you. It's right there. I have video evidence for us all to see.
Unreal, man.
And what a great play. I mean, they drew that up so
Oh,
nice. Now, that said, maybe the
I'm not a
reason he was so open is because they didn't call
maybe
68 eligible. So they figure, well, we don't have to.
right. And I'm not a firm believer in plays and stuff like that in situations such as what we saw. Like, do your thing, man. Either go to oh, overtime wouldn't have been a bad thing there. The Lions have had played
Yeah,
pretty well
once they moved
all
back
game.
5 yards, that was stupid.
You kick it. Yeah, I don't know
Straight
why you didn't
stupid.
kick it after that. Right.
And just so everybody knows, anybody that listens knows that we have this little man crush on the Lions.
As is most of
But
America.
that said, Dallas is my second favorite team. I root for Dallas against everybody except the Rams because they were my dad's pride and joy in the world.
Right.
So we root for them. My dad, of course, no longer with us. We root for them anyway. So coming from a guy who's actually glad they won, I don't like how they won. I don't like the referees. It's one thing if they just miss a PI call. It's one thing if they miss that trip earlier in that series, blah, blah, blah. But when you blatantly don't know the freaking rules and you can't pay attention to a guy reporting, why are you being paid? Why are you even out there? Send my mom out there. She can forget just as easy. It's just stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the NFL will do nothing to go back in and say, looks like if we look at here on the tape, he actually did report. Because and people say that, like, why can't you just change the outcome? Well, you can't because 68 maybe was only wide open because
Right.
they didn't announce it. So why am I going to cover this guy who's not even eligible?
Right. And how much time was left? Wasn't there? There was a few seconds left.
Oh yeah, the game. This was the straight up win. Yeah, it was 2-pointer. You pretty much have won. You kick it off, they'll have won.
But that's it. See, that's there was if there was zero time left, they would never do it. But maybe you could just flip the win loss thing. It
But
would
you
never
can't
happen.
because the play would have been different because
Right.
Dallas would have covered him
Agreed.
if he had been announced eligible.
Agreed. But it's even worse that there's time left. There has
Yeah,
to
but
be
it
a
was only
kickoff
like
after
12
that.
seconds or something like that. This
Still.
was it was Stanford
Yeah.
band type area.
Sure. Yeah. And hey, guess what? You just called it Stanford
Yeah,
ban because it happened.
it just shouldn't have happened. And that
Oh,
the
oh man.
NFL downgraded them anyway, but that they've even sort of stood behind them. Draw a line somewhere, Roger Goodell. I get so tired of his on the
Yeah,
fence crap.
I know. I know. All right, let's move on. We're before we get too fired up here. Russell Wilson, man, not going to be a Denver Bronco.
Screwed.
Did him dirty.
It shades
Eh,
to me just for you. I know you're going to paint
yeah,
this whole picture here, but to me, the first thing when I read this and saw this, I thought of Eli Manning, who I adore now, but I couldn't stand as a player because of his child faces, like his petulant child and the cereal aisle faces. Who was the Giants coach that did him dirty his
uh,
retirement year and benched him?
Joe Judge. Joe
Yeah.
Judge.
And got so much crap for it. It
Yeah,
was, I felt bad for it. Like, really? A Hall of Fame guy, and this is how you're going to do him at the end?
I know.
Russ has played great. No, great is strong. He's
Good
played
enough.
well. It's not his
Yes.
fault. But lay the landscape for us here, friend. Sorry.
I wasn't going to go too into it, but
No, you
basically,
should, because this has big ramifications for the future if a team can essentially threaten you
yeah. Sean
to
Payton and the
change
Denver
your contract.
Broncos.
That's not how the CBA is supposed to work.
Right. A week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, game ends. Denver Broncos go up to Russ and they say, "Hey, here's the deal. You have an injury clause in your contract where if you get hurt, you are guaranteed money. If you waive that clause and we don't have to pay you if you get hurt, you can play for the rest of the year. If you don't waive that clause, we're going to bench you so that you don't get hurt and we don't have to pay you that." And so Russ is like, "No, what? I want my money." And so he's going to the bench. And the NFLPA, I'm sure, is not very happy about this. Who was it?
Just
Jarrett Stidham came in
just
and played.
He did. Just so we paint a very clear picture. This happened originally. It sounded like it was 2 weeks ago. It was 7 weeks ago.
7?
It was directly the evening right after the Chiefs game that they beat the Chiefs to finally come back. They're like a game or two out of it. They beat the Chiefs, their arch rival, and after the game, he was contacted, him and his agent, with this threat. It's all come
Dude,
out today that what really actually happened.
I
He's
thought it
been
was 2 or 3
playing.
weeks ago.
No, that's what they originally was said. It happened 7 weeks ago. And that's part of this thing now about like him blowing up on Russ on the sideline. He just hates Russ, everything about him. So
Well,
this
I get
actually
that.
happened seven
I
weeks ago.
I
They
definitely get
just
that.
now decide when they still had a chance, we're going to bench you.
Wow.
So
Man,
the
that is
NFLPA threatened suits then. This is completely against the CBA. You're not allowed to threaten. If you want to bench a guy, you can bench him all you want, but you can't threaten him to bench him unless he changes his contract.
they needed to just bench him and not say a word.
That's the thing. If that's fine.
Oh,
There's nothing in the CBA, and his agent, others in the NFL, these so-called experts again, have said there is nothing that can dictate who gets playing time. But what you can't do is threaten people to sit them if they don't change their contract, because that's not how it's supposed to work. So now they could file. The whole thing's just a mess. It turns out Sean Payton's just okay. You don't like that word. It starts with a D, ends with a bag.
yep.
Could you use your thesaurus.com formula on that one real quick?
Just say he's a jerk.
He's a jerk. So that doesn't really describe what he is. He's a jerky jerk.
Jerk. He's a big
A
jerk.
consarned dagnabbit jerk.
That's right.
He really is. It seems like everybody there just can't stand the guy. I don't understand this. It makes very little sense. I get the financial, but they did him completely dirty.
And look, good for us because he's still going to get paid.
Going to get
They still
39
owe the
million
money.
next year. Some other team's going to pay 1.5 million of it, and the Broncos will pay 37.5 mil to a guy
Right.
that's not on their team, so that Stidham can be their starter. Stidham, a
So
guy who should be a third stringer on most teams.
as of now, Atlanta is the house bet. Like that's who most folks are, assuming he's going to go. Atlanta, and great spot. Where else would he go?
I want to
Because
see him go to Vegas.
dude, I wrote that one down.
Yeah,
I wrote that one down
in division, stick it to them, and they might with Russ might be able to convince Devontae to stay. I
Yep.
mean, he's under contract, but this could get ugly with him.
You could keep Josh Jacobs too. If Russ shows up,
Yeah.
maybe that keeps Jacobs around.
Washington would obviously be a player. The only way the Jets would be if Rodgers has some major setback, but I don't see that happening. I mean, there's really a number of teams that for the league minimum, half the teams in the league should be looking after him. The league minimum for Russ, I'll gladly take that shot, take that chance. Why not? You're not on the hook for the other money.
What about Pittsburgh? Kenny Pickett, who's your guy, right? You drafted him 2 years ago. He's being benched right now. He's not hurt. He's just flat out being benched
He
for Mason
sucks.
Rudolph.
You could.
And
I
if
mean,
you're
if
Russ,
Rudolph keeps playing the way he is, man, it's hard to not give him a look. But you're right. It's a team.
Mike Tomlin, you got
Why
Mike
not?
Tomlin there. You got George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. You got a running game. It's a solid spot. Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin.
Yeah, but I don't. I at this point, I'd rather have Baker.
Really?
Yeah, the
Okay.
dude's the dude's been on it. He's
Baker's
playing.
going to be
He's
more
what, six,
expensive.
7 years younger.
They got to pay Baker $4 million. He's making $4 million this year. Baker's gonna be more expensive next year than Russ is for the Buccaneers.
That's true. So if the financial thing, that's something they'll have to think about.
Yeah.
Because wherever he goes, it's most likely going to be a 1 year deal or a multiple year deal where they pay him the league minimum in year one, and then it balloons up to 25 mil a year after that.
Oh, more than that.
It's going to be it'll be different. It'll be a whole new thing for the NFL that a team is paying somebody that much freaking money to play for someone else.
And this is why I love the off season so much.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's a chess game.
See, that's the thing that obviously you love the season because football is being played, but there's stress involved. In the off season, it's nothing but good stuff.
There's only stress involved because of fantasy. If we didn't care so much about fantasy and just watch the NFL, we wouldn't be nearly as stressed out.
I still get upset when my Eagles play terrible, which obviously they did this past
They're
week.
getting good at that.
Oh, real good. You ready to jump into these games?
Oh, I was born ready, buddy.
Our boy Joe Flacco did it again. Cleveland beat the Jets 37-20.
Is dreaming.
Um, listen, we one of the best friends that the show has, John McGrogan, he posted, he goes, look, I got 3 quarterbacks in a super flex league, and one of them is Flacco against the Jets, and I think I have to bench him in my championship game. And you look at the matchup and you're like, yeah, I think you do.
Jets are #1 against the pass.
Number one. And once again, that's why fantasy's stupid. Because Joe Flacco goes out and throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, or only 19 completions. It's so maddening. As far as the Jets go, Brees Hall is now #1 in targets and #2 in receiving yards among running backs.
Yeah, I'm so proud for him. So proud.
Yeah, he's a certified first-round pick next year. Do you think?
He's a certified jerky jerk.
Brees Hall is a
Because in
jerk.
week 15, he got me 2.7 points.
Oh,
He had that in the
gotcha.
first 30 seconds of this game. And the
Yes.
last game. Yes, he's amazing. Doing that with nothing around him, no offense around him, and he's still doing that.
Nothing around him. And then David Njoku on the other side of the ball there. In the last 4 weeks, he's been tight end 2, tight end 2, tight end 3, tight end 3. The problem is next year he's going to get drafted too high because he's doing all this nonsense, which is great. But Joe Flacco is not going to be the quarterback, and people are going to draft him higher than he should go.
Honestly, this game was a letdown for him because he had like 4 catches and 120 yards in the first freaking quarter.
And it was 6 and 130.
After that, he did almost nothing. But he had like 120 yards in the first freaking quarter.
Yeah. How about Jerome Ford with 2 receiving touchdowns?
Yeah, impressive. One of them was actually they were both semi-long.
What are they going to do about Ford next year? Because Chubb's going to be coming back from an injury. Ford has, I think, more than proven his capability at being a lead back.
I don't know.
Just keep him as your #2,
Wait, which is their #2?
Jerome Ford.
Well, after what Chubb's been through, I don't think anybody would make the statement that he's even the #2 at the beginning. He might be the #1 for half the season until if Chubb even comes back at all. Because he went in once, they repaired some stuff. I don't even know if have they even gone back in yet to do the ACL. I never really saw again. They were supposed to do it like 4 to 6 weeks later, so I assume they did.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah. Yeah. You have how can you not keep him? Because he might be your starter. He might be potentially the best backup in the league. As weird as that is to say, the numbers are the numbers.
He's a decent starter. I mean, what did he just get? 28 points?
He's not a guy that you hear a lot about, but he's the best backup in the league potentially.
I know. We already talked about the Dallas and Detroit game, 2019. The Cowboys, quote, won that one. It's to the point now where Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are the only 2 Cowboys you can trust week in and week out. And CeeDee Lamb is currently the wide receiver 1 in all of fantasy football. He surpassed Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, in my league, he's still #2. But
because you got bonuses and stuff, right?
For distance scores and such.
Yeah.
But it's very close. They're like the same player, 1A, 1B.
Now, we knew Detroit was going to have a good offense, but what if preseason I told you that Detroit was going to have, as it sits right now, the QB8, the RB9, the RB14, the wide receiver 3, and the tight end 1, Sam Laporta,
He is
best tight end in fantasy football.
In fact, in our scoring format, he's Kelsey's not even 2. He's 3 now. Kittle's passed him at 2.
What an offense.
It's good. I wish if Jared Goff could have had 1 more touchdown than SOAF, which I don't think this is considered cussing because his team
just say SOAF. That's good enough. That's a team in your league.
How's this? Poop on a frisbee.
That's fine.
But okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep you happy. Poop on a frisbee. If he'd had 1 more freaking touchdown, he'd had enough points to move up to #10 and be a holdout next year. But instead, he gets to keep him for $7 freaking dollars instead of having to up his salary to like 45.
And next week doesn't matter.
What's that?
Next week doesn't matter.
No, because since we don't use it in our standard regular league, 18 goes out the window.
Yeah, makes sense.
Frustrating.
The Buffalo Bills had a surprisingly close game with the Patriots, 27-21, but they did get the win. And outside of Josh Allen, there was nobody who was really fantasy relevant. Dalton Kincaid got to 10.7, but you didn't feel good about him going in. He's had a few down games lately. So not a whole lot to talk about here. Do you agree?
Yeah, Bills defense and Patriots special teams were big winners on the week.
Yep, 100%. The Colts thankfully got their boy Michael Pittman back.
Can I ask you real quick, though, before we
Yeah.
move on real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
What is going on with Stephon Diggs? Because I got him going here in week 18 because I have no choice. I've saved him all year for this week. What in the world is going on there?
He has been, it's been what, 5 weeks probably since he's had a decent game. The one thing I'll say is they gave him a carry this game. I mean, at least they're trying, but they had a bye week in week 13, and then he's had 4 point. You know what? Let's go
He's
back.
only gotten
Let's go
double
back
digits once since week 9.
Right. I was just going to say week 10, under 5, 11, under 5. Week 12, 16 against the Eagles, but that's, obvious.
Yeah,
And they had a bye, then 4.4, 6.8, 5.4, 5.1. I have absolutely no idea. And it's like, well, he's not getting targets. He had 11 targets against the Chiefs and only had 4 catches for 24 yards. I don't know, man.
well, I hope that the trend ends this week. I mean, I'm pretty much out of it there anyway, but I could maybe at least put some numbers together and get third. Make
Maybe.
a little loot.
Maybe. The Colts, I told you they needed Michael Pittman if they had any chance of winning this game. And even though Pittman didn't have a good game, they were able to pull out the win. You got to have, besides Jonathan Taylor, your best player on offense on the field. And Jonathan Taylor had a really nice game, scored a touchdown for you. And then for the Raiders, welcome back Devontae Adams.
Yes.
His second 30-point game of the year, but 13 for 126 and 2. He had 21 targets, Kevin. 21. I don't know why you weren't doing this the whole year.
Makes no
if you were the
sense.
Raiders and you dropped it, he gets 21. He's going to average 20 targets a game in my offense if I'm running it. This is how it's going to go. They were double teaming him. I don't care. They used to double team Calvin Johnson for the Lions. They would triple team Calvin Johnson for the Lions. Stafford would force him the ball. Yeah, Stafford's throwing picks, but guess what? Calvin Johnson's coming down with a lot of them balls, man.
They did. Yeah, it was great. Aiden O'Connell, can I tell you a quick funny story?
I would love it.
People heard, of course, last week the awfulness that Frogger had to go through when he got the screws put to him by Aiden O'Connell and I think the Niners defense. But this week he was so angry, even though there is a massive money difference between 3rd and 4th place in my league of record. He played Aaron Rodgers as his starting quarterback because of how much he despises Aiden O'Connell. He played him in protest, and he still won. He beat Tune-Up by 6 points with 0. Aaron Rodgers, he hates Aiden O'Connell so much that he would throw away nearly $100 because of it.
The worst part about that is because that happened, he thinks he's right. He thinks he did the right thing.
And so then to add insult to injury, if Aiden O'Connell had scored 7 points last week, Frogger would have won the league.
Wow.
Because he would have played him this week and he would have beat Bear Balls NUI for the league championship.
Right.
So, I mean, why do we do this stupid game?
Nobody knows, Kevin, but here we are. And not only do we do it, but we do a podcast about it. So
yes,
it's fun. That's good times.
And we play in multiple leagues so we can be extra angry.
Does Antonio Pierce get the head coaching job for the Raiders?
They're
I'd only
like to say that Davis has learned his lesson, but I can't say that he has. Let me just say it like this. He should get it. The players will be happy. They're playing hard for him, even in the games they lose. He's a diehard Raider from the day he was freaking born. What are you looking for? What do you expect that's going to be better?
Well,
But Mark Davis loves to make terrible decisions. So I 50-50, maybe.
and Davis is like a splash, right?
Yeah,
Him,
they
his
do like
dad,
that. It's
right?
gotten to the point though, him making a good decision is a splash in and of itself
Yeah, see,
because
you got a point there. You got a point. I like it.
nobody expects him to actually do it.
The Raiders are only 4-4 since Antonio Pierce took over. I get it, but two of the losses were against Kansas City and Miami, but they also beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. Half their losses are against playoff teams and very, very good teams, teams you don't really want to see in the playoffs. I think he deserves a shot. Why not? I mean,
Well,
good
and
grief.
let's be honest, they don't have the best freaking roster in the league. He had
Oh
to
no.
clean up this freaking mess that was left behind. I'd say going 4-4 is it's actually been pretty good. And the thing is now they're really looking good. They throw up a 60 burger, right?
And how much you're paying John Gruden still and Josh McDaniels, you're not going to have to pay him a whole bunch. It's not like you have some huge big name coach coming in. You might save yourself a little money. Not that that really matters,
And
but
I assume you saw the hardcore rumor last week that there's a chance that Gruden could be rehired.
that's not
I don't think
you.
there's a rat's
It's not
ass of a chance of it happening, but there
reinstated.
are some on the inside that say if Mark Davis had his way, it wouldn't get
Yeah,
pressured by Goodell, that there's a good chance he would hire Gruden back.
I don't think that's happening, my friend.
I don't either, but I'm just, it's out there. It's a rumor.
The Carolina Panthers are so bad. Not only did they lose to the Jaguars, who we don't really know who the Jaguars are, they're not a good football team. They got shut out 26-0. That being said, the only player really worth having was Travis Etienne. And I mean, and he had a monster game. 16 carries, 102 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns with that. But I told you a while ago, many, many weeks ago, that I was worried about the the workhorse role that ETN was having
Yeah,
because he was rolling in the beginning of the year, and I think he's still RB3.
I think he is.
But right, the first 8 games, he scored 137 fantasy points, 136.9 first 8 games. The last 8 games, 78.8.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, not a terrible running back. But what a huge, and that's counting the
But
20 plus points he just had
right. And
this
I don't
past
think
week.
it's all him though, because the team in general has sucked. They 8 weeks ago were tied for the number one seed in the AFC, and they have just hit a wall defensively, offensively. Everything is just sucked. And the weird thing is Trevor Lawrence sits, all of a sudden things turn around. I think it's more that they were playing the Panthers than anything. But that whole team is just everybody. If you look at their stats team wide, everything just imploded.
They're so weird because if they put it together, they're a solid football team.
And nobody wants to play them in the playoffs. They might
Which
beat you 35-3. You might beat them 35-3.
how
It's
many
you just don't
teams do we
know.
have like that in the NFL right now?
There's a good number that it's
I
Dr.
know.
Jekyll, Mr. Hyde every week.
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean, other teams, like say like the Eagles, every week they're going to throw up a lot of points. They're going to give up a lot of points. It's just a matter of who has more. The Niners, the Ravens, you might have to score 60 to beat them, things like that. But there, you're right. The Chiefs, they're another one. You just don't know
Yes.
in any given week that they're going to wake up and cream you, or they might only score 10 points and you beat them by 17.
Well, you said the Raiders had a 60 burger. That was like the week after they scored 0.
Yeah. Oh, they lost that game. Did they lose or win that game 3-0?
Didn't they lose? I don't think
They
they
might
scored
have.
0.
I'm
I
asking.
think
I
yeah,
can't. It was against
they lost
Minnesota, right?
3-0 to the Vikings. Yeah.
The Minnesota was the one. I couldn't remember who won it.
Regardless, it's a 60-point swing, no matter what.
Oh yeah, but I think that's again swing back to him, to the Raiders that you know good things are happening. Why
I
rock the
know.
boat
Yeah,
again? Give the guy a chance. Give him one
I'm with
year.
you.
Who cares? Say, yeah, 1 year. Prove to me next year you can do this. I'll give you 1 year
Yeah,
contract. You have a winning record. Boom, we're going. You
right.
have five
Win me nine
games.
games.
Then we're moving on.
I like it.
And it's simple. Why
I like it.
not? Why not? You're absolutely right. Give him a year. Give him an off season to build
Yep.
and give him a year to play.
Yeah, let's see what you do in this draft, man. Can you evaluate talent? We'll find out.
I would love
Yeah,
to
one
see it.
year is going to be
I'm
tough, but
tired of
but you,
seeing them keep screwing up. Tune Nut, of course, he's sitting there praying to the Raiders gods that they're going to hire him.
I mean, rookies are, I feel like, are making more of an impact year as the years go on. I mean, think about the rookie wide receivers we have right now that are big time players. We're talking Puka Nakua, Jaden Reed. I mean,
Addison's had a big
Tank
year.
Dell, Jordan Addison. Right. I mean, even tight ends, Sam Laporta, Dalton
Quentin
Kincaid.
Johnson's good at dropping the ball.
Gosh. But rookies can make an impact, man. You have to get yourself a good draft. You're all right. Um, Despite the Rams trying in all of their power to give the game to the Giants, Tyrod Taylor refused to take the win with some terrible, terrible throws, man. Like Saquon Barkley wide open for a touchdown. He threw or a 2-point conversion, threw it behind him. It was just what a mess. But KWilliams is an absolute stud. 87 yards on the ground, but 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Puka Nakua had another 100-yard receiving game. Um,
He's
I'm
29
assuming,
yards, I think, from the rookie record from some guy back in the, what, 50s?
yeah, I'm assuming that all these guys are going to come back next year. Cooper Cup is not who he was, and maybe an off season to get healthy will help him out. But I'll be honest, man, I would be a little frightened with the Rams if they can keep this offense together. Stafford comes back. You got Puka, you got Cooper. KWilliams is the running back 4 right now in fantasy. He is second in the NFL in rushing yards, and the dude's missed 4 games,
Yeah.
4 whole games. Can you imagine if he played those 4 games? We wouldn't be talking about Christian McCaffrey's MVP. It'd be
Maybe.
KWilliams.
McCaffrey's missed time too, and he is, I think, about 350 yards behind him. It's not really
Right,
close.
right.
But you're
Give
right.
him
It would be a
four
lot
games,
closer. It
though.
would actually be worth talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Insane.
mentioned last week that potentially the most dangerous team right now, playing wise, right this day, in the NFC is the Rams. And this game didn't change my mind because you're playing at the Giants. You had to travel 3,000 miles. Now I don't want to hear playing away is different. You can wave your hand up in the road.
Across the
Away games
country
are
and
different.
stuff.
Just ask the Cowboys.
Across the
Um,
country and stuff.
you know, and you found a way to win this close game. Dude, I'm telling you, again, I say it a lot, but it's one of those teams that seems like just a throwaway that I wouldn't want to play in the first round of the playoffs.
You don't want to play anyone in the playoffs, Kevin.
I don't. Dude, I think it's so wide open. The only
It's
team in the league that I think is almost unbeatable is the Ravens, but as a Ravens fan, I know that's not true. He'll sit everybody next week, then they'll take a week off, then they won't even be back playing till about the midway through the third quarter of the divisional round, so they'll lose.
where there's the Ravens in the AFC, the Niners still in the NFC. I don't want to play either one of those teams. I'd
I
be
agree
willing
the
to play
Niners are
just
the
about
best in
everybody
the
else.
NFC, but I don't think there's as big of a gap from the Niners to the other teams in the NFC as there is right now from the Ravens to the teams in the AFC. Because the Ravens have just beat the number 2 seed currently. Miami just beat them by 40 points roughly. You just beat
Hey,
the 49ers by about 25.
if I had to pick one other team that I wouldn't want to play, I think it's the
Cleveland.
Browns. Yes.
Yeah, I'm already scared. I hate it.
Oh my
Because
gosh,
they're almost
yes.
definitely going to beat whatever Joker team wins that AFC South, which means unless the 6 or 7 win, it's going to be 1-5 in Baltimore. And I'm already fretting it.
Can you imagine Flacco rolling into his house with that defense the Browns have? The only other defense that comes, I mean, you guys and them have the 2 best defenses probably right now.
Yeah. My thing with
Hmm.
Flacco, though, like the press makes a big deal out of that stuff. There's about 6 guys left on the team that were there when Flacco was there. So it's a
But
nice
he was
story
there
for
for
the
so
press,
long.
but it's
Yeah.
cool because the crowd's going to root for the guy. It's funny. We as Ravens fans we're done with him when he was with the Ravens, but now that he's doing well for somewhere else, we love the guy. It's such a strange conundrum. But I do not want that matchup. I really don't.
Up
It's the one
up until
matchup that scares me. There's no other team in the AFC that scares me right now.
up until this Super Bowl, that's how the Eagles fans felt against or about Andy Reid.
True.
Yeah, love you. Do your thing. You won Super Bowl. I mean, Eagles fans, me included, we were rooting for Andy Reid in that Super Bowl against I don't even remember who they beat a couple years ago. The Buccaneers, right? Didn't they beat
Who?
Tom
The
Brady?
Eagles
No,
or
no, no.
the
Chiefs.
Chiefs? No, they
Chiefs.
got. I thought they
Who they
got
beat?
crushed by the Bucks, didn't they?
Whenever Kansas City won the Super Bowl, not against the Eagles,
That
we
was
were
the 49ers, I believe.
whatever.
Yeah, they beat the 49ers and then Tom Brady smashed them.
Go Andy Reid.
So
But
didn't even a small part of Eagles fans there, didn't a small part of you still, even though you lost to them, still, at least we lost to Andy Reid.
no, man. Well, I don't know.
Really?
I hate the Chiefs, man. How absolutely despise them. It really got me deep, man. It
It's not
cut
like
me
they cheated to win or something. They beat you fair and square. I mean,
kind of, not really. I told you, not a single Chief changed their cleats during that game.
okay.
Eagles went out there ice skating,
I mean,
and the
just it could
Chiefs,
have been different if
the
Jalen
turf
Hurts didn't
god.
just lay the ball on the ground like he was
Well,
bowling,
for
so
sure,
that the
obviously.
Chiefs could score pick nines.
Speaking of the Eagles, they lost to the Cardinals, which I thought was predictable. Apparently, I'm by myself on that on an island. Julio Jones had a monster game, 2 catches, both of them for touchdowns.
You are one of
Both
the
of-
most ridiculous people I've ever met in my life.
Well, you say this at least once
Because
an
you
episode.
call me Mr. Pessimistic Ravens fan, but you seriously want me to believe that you expected them to lose to the Cardinals at home.
I was 99% sure the Cardinals would at least cover the spread, and I was about 60% sure they would win.
So, dude, you are I'm done with
Kevin,
you tonight.
give give me an offense that the Philadelphia defense can stop.
Smithsburg,
Okay, right, right. A high school,
Boonesboro,
Maryland. Exactly. You didn't name an NFL team.
Hancock.
That's the problem. Hancock's had like 800 kids. That's the problem, man. It's
It
the
is awful,
defense.
dude. The
It's
Cardinals
bad.
didn't score 30 points once all season.
Well,
Not
they have
once.
now.
They sure have.
And you got to think one of the Eagles' touchdowns was a pick six where the
Yeah.
receiver ran the wrong route. Michael Wilson just ran a post. He's supposed to run a post corner, and the only person there were two Eagles players actually waiting for the ball, but no Cardinals, and he took him for a pick six.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the game wouldn't even been that close.
No, and that right, because that's like a 14-point swing there, because that was at the
Yeah.
1 yard line.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. Like I said, I've been being a dead horse here. I called it starting about week 4 or 5 that something wasn't right, that sooner or later it's going to get ugly. I never in a million years imagined it was going to turn into this. This is straight debacle type stuff at this point.
The playoffs are a waste of time for the Eagles.
They
They're
might
gonna
be.
where it sits right now. I think they play whoever wins the NFC South.
That's-
So
They will.
they
Well, unless
probably
if
will.
they win this week and Dallas loses, they'd still be the 2 seed. But most likely,
Right.
yes. Dallas plays Washington, so they're most likely not going to lose.
But honestly, the best matchup they could have is the winner of the NFC South because that's
Well, yeah.
probably the
Oh,
worst
yeah.
team in the
They just have to
playoffs.
play on the road, yeah.
Right. So you play that game, maybe a win. It's the best chance at a win in the playoffs because there's no way they're making out of round two.
I saw probably like 3 different plays. AJ Brown, literally microcosm of the season. This should just be the meme of the whole Eagle season. He's just standing out in the field by himself numerous times with his arms up. Like, what are we doing? What is
What are we
this?
doing?
Is this football? Why am I even bothering running routes? It was weird. And when they went up, let me ask you real quick. You're the Eagles guy. Because I was watching the Ravens game during this, flipping back and forth with most of the Ravens. Why did they just capitulate and settle for a field goal when they were driving down the field with 2.5 minutes left? The Eagles. Why did they just call plays like literally like, okay, we're at the 30 now. We're just going to stop even trying, and we're just going to kick a field goal because we know our defense is so good they'll be able to stop you. What were they do? What is the logic? Can you tell me what you think the logic behind that was?
There's no more logic, Kevin. we know that we are being outcoached. So who knows the Eagles defense better than the former defensive coordinator,
Can't argue there,
who
right?
is Cardinals head coach? He knows the weakness of the defense, which is basically everything right now. But he knows a pass rush isn't going to get there like it did last year when he was in charge.
And it,
And
but I'm
obviously
talking about
he
the
knows
Eagles here. Why did the Eagles just on offense just give up and just accept a field goal?
no, but
Why did they not even try?
what I'm saying is they have to know they're being outcoached
Well, true.
because the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, obviously you lose them both, it's tough, but they are not what we had last year. It's not Jonathan Gannon out there calling the defensive plays, and it's
Well, so even
very,
more then, why wouldn't the
very
Eagles want to
frustrating.
push down the field and get a touchdown there instead of just, you know what, we got to the 30. Now let's just not even try.
The Eagles are averaging almost 4.5 yards a carry as a
But
team
they
on
choose
the
not to run.
season.
But they choose not to run.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's no logic in this play calling, offensively or defensively. And defensively, they don't have the talent. They don't have the roster to match up against honestly anyone, which is odd because you have these high paid cornerbacks. Now Slay's been hurt.
Yeah, but
Um,
they're
come
they're
on.
just
And I know
past
you
their prime. And
right.
last year, I think they were good, but they were benefited a little bit by that amazing pass rush. This year, the pass rush is what
Right.
34 sacks instead of 70, and now all of a sudden these
Middle of the
guys are
pack.
being exposed.
Yes. That's what I said. I said this last week on the show. And maybe the week before. But
Hey, have you
whatever.
seen the lady? Have you seen the thing online? The lady, the Eagles fan in the crowd.
The 6 word question.
Yes, I mean it's the truth. Like she's saying the same thing we're all saying that everybody across the country is saying, but that Sirianni somehow is not hearing.
Oh, he heard it. He's said he hears the questions, he hears the fans, but he turns it off.
Why? They're right. He's
I
not. I was
don't know,
talking to
Ken.
Kamler today about all this. He's a Steelers fan, Ravens fan, so we can talk with the Eagles completely objectively. With you, you pretty much can. You get a little fired up now and then, but you can pretty much talk about the Eagles objectively. But he and I, we definitely can. I never in a million years saw, I would say this, because as you know, you were skeptical. I was not. I love the Sirianni hire. And it worked out great, didn't it? But I mean,
So
for the
far.
most part, I mean, they didn't win this year, but they've had a lot of success on him. I never in a million years, 2 years ago, would have thought I'd ever say this. He has become a victim of his own ego. I never ever thought that. I thought this dude, this is the man.
What
He
happens, man?
got it. He knows what he's doing. He is never going to fall in all these traps yet. Here we are. This roster that you could argue is the best roster top to bottom in the NFL and lost 4 or 5, and you could make the argument they should have lost the fifth one too.
Dude, it's
It's crazy. I mean, you must
irritating
be
at
losing it as an
best.
Eagles fan. You feel my pain as a Ravens fan, like all this talent and just it's just wasted. It's so frustrating.
We're going to run through a couple of these games pretty quickly because I think we can. The Niners beat the Commanders pretty good. Um, Start all your Niners. CMC has a calf strain. Maybe won't play this week. Probably doesn't need to because Elijah Mitchell was just fine. I don't really have anything else to say about that one.
Purdy redeemed himself, which I was happy to see.
Yeah, but we knew it was going to happen.
We did.
The Chicago Bears
Oh yeah, we
beat
got to
up
talk here, buddy. Sorry, we
Falcons
have to.
pretty bad. I don't know how much we need to talk,
Dude, last
but
week the show was only 55 minutes, so we've got a little leeway this week.
the Bears can run the football, be it
Okay.
with Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert, whoever you want to give the ball to, they can run it. Um, DJ Moore, he, I feel like you keep looking at these games and these box scores, and you're like, oh my gosh, DJ Moore's so good. And he is. He has 6 games as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver this year. That's awesome. He has 6 games as wide receiver 40 or worse
Yeah.
as well. This dude is an absolute roller coaster. Now, granted, as far as real football goes, man, good for you, Chicago, getting and thrown in that deal. When you trade ravaged the Carolina Panthers,
Good term. Nice.
Um,
Way to organically
but
throw that in there. Well done.
but
Well
yeah,
done.
uh, good for you guys because he is your wide receiver one, and he's fantastic. And I'll tell you what, if you could pair him with Marvin Harrison Jr., buddy, you might have something cooking
So
over
we
there.
talked before the show. We said we talked about
I
it.
know.
I am now fully convinced they would be stupid. I did something I never do. I watched some college tape before the NFL season was over. Williams is going to be a good, solid player, might even be an all pro, but I would not get rid of Fields to take him. I would trade that pick, find my absolutely sure I can get Marvin Harrison Jr. and then trade Ravage, another team, and build from there because I think Justin Fields finally gets it and they could really build. And it's crazy to say this. I think Detroit will be the team to beat there for the next 4 to 5 years, but Chicago could be the team to really challenge them. They
Which would
do
be
add
great. I'd
some
love to have.
defensive players. They really do. I know that. But dude, Chicago, please do not destroy the franchise. Please do not start over for a guy that I don't know is ever going to be any better than Justin Fields.
I do not disagree. I struggle, and we'll see. We'll see. Look, if your Ravens go and win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, a quote run first quarterback,
Which he's not really, but he does run
quote,
a lot.
right, right. That's probably. I mean, that's his biggest strength, right? Because even when he's not, even when he's throwing, defenses are worried about him running.
True.
As soon as someone like him wins a Super Bowl, then I'll be a little more convinced that someone like Justin Fields in the same mold could do it. Well, yeah, Jalen Hurts, he can run, but he is a pocket passer. He is looking to throw. He has far less design runs now, which maybe is a problem for them to win games.
I agree.
But I mean, have we ever seen a quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick or Justin Fields win a Super Bowl yet?
Not yet, but there's
It's not
more and
going to
more
happen.
every year.
I know.
It's
I
bound
know.
to happen. And to
I know.
my whole thing is just the whole thing of setting the thing back. It's finally starting to work. How in the hell did you go 7-9 with this roster? And to want to start over again?
But technically it's not starting over because you're going to have to pay Fields,
I
and then
guess he's
and
missed
then
a lot of time. He's been good,
that
but
money's going to go away from other
yeah,
places.
but a number one pick's going to go crazy too. I'm just saying. I
I don't
don't think
disagree with you.
Williams is the answer. I just don't.
Okay, I
I
have
think
not
what they
watched
could
film.
get for that pick could exceed what Williams could bring them tenfold.
Okay, I mean, look, they certainly got a haul last year. Why not trade the number one pick again?
Yeah, and the 2 and 3 are Washington and New England. Both die hard looking for a quarterback.
For
They're
sure.
most likely both going to have new head coaches. Bring them both in at the same time, let them build. Would probably give God knows what to Chicago for that number one pick. You got to be careful. It's New England though, because then you're probably not going to get Harrison because he's probably going to go too. Though I've seen some things now having him go third.
What? They don't have a quarterback. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi's not your guy. They don't even know who their quarterback is
Oh
right
God,
now.
Zappi had 3 picks this week. He is so awful.
Yeah. All right. Tampa Bay did not show up against the Saints and they lost it. Nobody wants to win the NFC South. It's kind of funny, honestly, to watch these games play out. I don't have a lot to say about that one. It's not really consequential or
It's
anything.
not except that if Tampa Bay wins, they win the South. If they
Right.
lose, the winner of the Saints Falcons automatically wins the South.
And as it stands right now, I don't think the Bucks are going to do it because they don't want it. Like nobody wants this
Yeah, but
division.
they play the Panthers, so it's tough to lose to them.
It is. You're right. It
Yeah.
certainly is. Your Ravens dismantled the Miami
Oh,
Dolphins. I know
dude.
that, Jalen Waddle was hurt, didn't play. I know Raheem Mostert didn't play.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it would have mattered a whole
because
lot.
Kyle Hamilton didn't play either.
Right. So, listen, this defense is humming. The offense is humming. You are getting hot at just the right time. However, as you mentioned, these 2 bye weeks might kill
I
you.
don't like it.
You're hot. You got to keep rolling, man.
Hey,
You
he
gotta
already
keep.
counted and said he doesn't know if L. Jackson
I
will play
know.
at all. He
I
says, well, the
know.
circumstances are different now. Well, no, they're not. Taking 3 weeks off, it's been proven time and time again in the NFL. It is awful, 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 awful. But he's going to do it again because, again, Harbaugh's ego. He'll do it his way so that they can lose in the second round to the Browns.
Houston beat the Tennessee Titans 26-3 with only 1 offensive touchdown. They got a defensive touchdown and a bunch of field goals. But welcome back, CJ Stroud. I really need Houston to win this week. I really need them in the playoffs, Kevin. Really, really pulling for these guys.
The only way they're winning is what? If Indy wins, they've got it. If Indy loses, the winner of the Houston and somebody else. Who's Houston play?
They should be able to snag a wild card with a win because right now it's the Jags and the Colts are all 3 teams. The Jags, the Colts, and the Texans are all
That's it.
9.
That's it. It's the Jags win, they win the division. If they lose, whoever wins the Colts Texans game wins the division because they're all tied.
Let's get a wild card. Can we get a wild card? Can we sneak one of those in there?
I mean, they're just going to get slaughtered, but it'd still be cool.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Listen, I don't think that they're going to make a push for the Super Bowl or anything, but
Right.
I'd love to see the Texans in there.
But who would have thought at this point in the season they'd have 3 teams still viable for the playoffs?
I know. Such a terrible division.
It is, but maybe they're not. Obviously.
Well, they're mediocre. Right. They're
Yeah, they're
mediocre.
not stellar, but they compete. They got 3 teams with winning records, right?
Yeah. Steelers go out in the Seattle, beat the Seahawks. I don't know who the Seahawks are.
I know this was a surprise to me. I really didn't think the Seahawks would lose this with what they had on the line.
Hey, they almost beat Dallas in Dallas. Then they beat Philly at home. And then I think they're going to beat Pittsburgh at home. But no, it didn't happen.
Didn't show
Somehow
up.
Pittsburgh comes in and they run the ball all over them. They had basically 200 yards rushing between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
And George Pickens had another big game, but you never know when they're coming.
Yeah, but
So
he's
good luck with
dreaming with
that.
Mason Rudolph. Maybe that's the key.
Is
Mason
that
Rudolph
it?
says, you know what? I'm going to throw to the best player on the field. Maybe that would make sense.
Not everyone knows how to do that, Kevin.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It is.
It's truly bizarre.
The Jared Stidham led Denver Broncos beat the Easton Stick led.
Yeah, they beat a
LA
Division III
Chargers.
football team.
Oh my gosh! Can you? Good grief!
Can you
When the
imagine being
season
at that? Can you
started,
imagine paying
no.
hundreds of dollars to go to this game?
Oh my
To
gosh!
see a bunch of third string players out there slaying it for 16-9.
Especially if you're a Chargers fan and you're like, look, it's August. I got tickets here. You know, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to splurge. I want to see Russell Wilson go against Justin Herbert.
Yeah, for
There
maybe
might
a
be
wild
playoff
card.
implications.
And this is what you're
Yeah.
offered.
Dude, I would cancel my plane ticket,
I mean,
man.
games like this have to keep Roger Goodell up at night, thinking like, what do I have to do to protect these quarterbacks better? What do I have to
Oh,
do to get better contracts? Because this is awful.
awful. The Kansas City Chiefs almost lost another one. They did everything they could to get beat by the Jake Browning led Bengals. And I got a question from I got a question from someone. They texted me and they said, what's going on with Jake Browning next year? Is someone gonna pick him up? Is he gonna play for someone?
Dude, it's so funny you say that because you know what I was telling? I watched this whole game. You know what I was telling myself the whole time when I was going to bring up on the show? Jimmy Garoppolo Jr.
Dude,
That's him. They're
you
going to
think?
hold on to him until they finally get the perfect deal to get rid of him and go from there.
Good for the Bengals.
That's a
Bad for the
great problem
team.
to have, right? The best backup quarterback in the league.
Is he though? I mean, 19 for 33, 197, a touchdown.
It wasn't great. It was 20.7 points. He's been doing great. They've been mostly winning games.
Patrick Mahomes did his thing, 11 points.
Yeah, that unfortunately has become his thing, hasn't it?
3 catches for 16 yards for Travis Kelce. I don't know what we're doing here. But look, Rashee
He had
Rice,
two
another one of those
drops.
rookie
He had
running
two,
backs,
or
man.
no, one.
Or
He had one drop. The target he missed was
receivers.
a straight up drop. He only had 4 targets the whole game. Teams are really now they're believing the pipe. Maybe they're listening to us. Guard Travis Kelce because nobody else can run a route, and even if they can, they can't catch.
So
Just
they didn't know this for the last 5 years?
apparently not. But the thing was, in the other years,
Tyreek, I
last
know.
year, you at least had Juju, a second guy who could catch. Now that Rice is finally doing, I think Rice's problem is he seems confused occasionally out on the field, but at least he can catch. This was not an inspiring game for the Chiefs. That
No.
said, they're locked into the 3 seed. They'll sit most of their guys this week.
Can't hurt.
And they got a lot
Unlike
of
the
things to
Ravens.
figure out. They got a
Unlike the
lot of
Ravens, they
things to
can't hurt.
figure out. And our boy's going to have to play his first ever road playoff game.
Well, good for him.
Well, actually, at first he won't.
Well,
His second one will if they win. If they win.
if they win. Before we move on to the last game, one thing I forgot to mention in the Seattle game, our boy DK Metcalf, we get like 13 something points. Which adds to he now has 9 games where he scored between 10 and 14 fantasy points.
Yeah, 13.
It's insane.
Big games didn't score.
His consistency of being just above mediocre is impressive. Now, the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love is the QB5
It's crazy
right now. QB5 in fantasy. They put up 33 points to Minnesota's 10 this week. Minnesota did absolutely nothing. Let me ask you, where does Jordan Love get drafted in fantasy drafts next year?
He's only had 2 games all year where he didn't get to double digits. So even his bad games get you 11, 12, 13. His good games, he hasn't even gotten to 30 once all year. He did 29.7. This week was his highest. So he's got a really high floor and a fairly low ceiling for a top-notch quarterback. And since quarterbacks go low, I could still see him being like the 10th, 11th, 12th quarterback taken.
He only has 4 games under 16.
That's what I'm saying. You could make the argument he has the highest floor in the league next to Jalen Hurts, but
which is
a lower
insane.
ceiling than half the quarterbacks in the league.
It's unreal, man. Unreal.
But if you want to if you've got this star-studded lineup and all you need is a quarterback you know is going to average 20 points a week, this is the guy you get in the 9th round.
Or is he going to go before? That's my question.
I still think he'd probably go 10, 11, 12. And if that's the case, you're talking 9th round in a regular 12-team league because people aren't doubling up on quarterbacks early. They're trying to find that star, that diamond in the rough wide receiver running back. So you wait till the 9th round to draft this guy that's probably going to get you roughly 20 points a week, never below 12, never above 29.
It's insane, man. It's so wild.
So weird. It's Jordan Love, and and he's quietly done this. There's not a single person on earth outside of Green Bay that thinks this guy is the second coming of Aaron Rodgers. Nobody thinks.
I don't.
That's why I think it is, because he's still being compared to him.
I'm looking at his numbers, and I don't like him.
How could you not? Look at this.
I know.
30 touchdowns, only 11 picks.
I'm hoping the offseason
changes my mind.
I know. When I really just stare at the stats and I forget about the name on the jersey, I'm hoping it changes my mind because
248 yards rushing. I mean,
he's worth an 8th, 9th round fantasy pick, man.
Yeah, he's worth probably something just barely higher, but that's just not going to happen unless you're a homer.
All right, you ready for our starts of the week?
I don't even have any. I chose not to pick any because most people don't play week 18. And I refuse to give my people 4 once and done this week, although I already gave up Stephon Diggs.
I don't have any either.
Did you even notice that we used fantasy.nfl.com for our fantasy points again? I think that's who you use, right?
I do it. I like the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's why I use that one. But they stop. They just stop after week 17. It doesn't even go on anymore because they, like us, realize if you're playing in week 18, get out of that league. Unless it's a once and done format where week 18 drastically factors into everything. But I'm
Excellent.
hoping for a big Bills game. It's my only shot to even break out a third place finish.
All right, so let's scoot out of here, man. Unless you got anything else to do.
I got things to do, but nothing really necessarily on here.
Awesome. Let's check us out. Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. Get Your Bill on Football podcast. He's Kevin. I'm Bobby. Thank y'all for listening. We'll see you in a week. Happy New Year.
See you, people.